Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Spiritual Transformer. And my name is Randy Koo, and this will be my fourth episode. So, my last episode went pretty well. I was just talking off the cuff with no script and no notes, so I think I'm going to continue that. Um, Once again, thank you very much for all those who've watched, liked, and subscribed to my page for these past three videos. And I can't do it without you, so thank you, and thank you. Today we're gonna talk about bit of a deep subject. It's suffering. So we're all Earthlings. We're all living here on Earth. So chances are we've all gone through the ringer at some point in our lives, and we felt some really, really deep pain, and that's something I think everybody can understand. But I also think that, especially in the times we're living today, that suffering, I won't say it's going to be going away, but I think suffering might be more manageable if that's even a thing. And suffering, we might not even have to suffer as much to understand or expand our consciousness. I think without some serious elevation, I guess, or enlightenment, I don't think we'll transcend suffering. But I think we had a little have it a little more easier than, say, if we were born 100, 200, 300, or maybe even 1,000 years ago. And yeah, I'm gonna give credit to media. Like, our world today is like, we have the internet, we have TV, movies, video games that can show us, well, that can help us feel more things, help us understand more things, and help us see more things, even if those things aren't exactly 100% real. And I think that helps a lot in terms of the degree that we have to suffer. And today I'm gonna try to explain that a little bit using my own experiences, and I'm gonna name two in particular. So stay tuned for that. But right now, I just want to think about it a little bit. So, what do I mean by we have more of a chance of learning without suffering, feeling without suffering today than any time in the past? And that's because, well, in the past, it's really hard for humans to, say, expand our consciousness. I think it's really hard because back a few hundred years ago, what do you got? You got oral traditions, stories passed down by word of mouth and word of mouth alone. Maybe before or after the printing press, you've got books and manuscripts. And I think both of them, compared to today, is awfully limiting. I mean, imagine you're living anywhere on Earth. 1,000 years ago, you might not ever leave your village or town or city. Very few people get educated, very few people get to travel. I mean, I don't know. I've never lived there, never really studied it, but how much you want to bet that they can't just go online somewhere and find anything they want? I mean, kind of stories they want, watch movies about just about anything. They can't. They just got their books and their traditions and their stories, and that's it. Like, you live your life, and it feels so limiting. I mean, even just imagining it seems a little crazy how limiting things would be. So I can't imagine that they'll be able to feel or understand or expand their minds very much or open up their hearts very much, because everything seems more constrained. At least that's what I think. Again, I don't remember anything from past lives or anything, so I can't say 100%. But just using my imagination, I have a feeling we have it really, 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 really good today. And yeah, and how does that tie back into suffering? Well, we have more perspectives than ever before. If we want to understand a particular feeling, if we want to understand a particular challenge, certainly somebody else out there has already had it. And they probably wrote a book about it. That's kind of what I found in my own case, too. Like, when I was younger, I was always like, man, nobody knows how I feel. Nobody understands. Yeah, that's not true. Everything I've ever felt, somebody understood. They wrote a book about it. Like, I can find books on anything. And be able to see right away, oh, this guy has the same experience as me. We felt the same things together, and it makes life a little bit more enjoyable to know that you're not alone. And I think that alleviates people's suffering a little bit. So, in that sense, I would like to say that specifically art can help us understand and alleviate our own suffering by not having to go through the suffering ourselves, and maybe watch other people do it on screen by playing video games, maybe. And that's kind of what I want to show you all today. So, using two examples of my life, I kind of want to show you how I have had transcended suffering a little bit. That's a pretty big word, but I'll let you decide if I'm telling the truth or not. So, the first example I want to bring up is a video game, and this is one of the best games I've ever played. It might surprise you a lot, but it is called, I'll try to bring up on screen here with my newfound video editing technique a little later on, but it's called A Space for the Unbound, right? And it's a PlayStation. I played it on PlayStation, but it's on PC and probably on Switch too. This is one of the best video games I've ever played. It touches on some really, really deep subjects like depression, grief, loss, separation, guilt, maybe even a bit of bullying thrown in there, right? Also, a real cocktail mix. And I have to admit that I have never felt this particular cocktail mix in my life. These days, I don't even feel guilt much, and that's saying something. So yeah, this video game really brought it out. It really put all these themes front and center, and it's also a really good game in its own right to play. Like, feels good, but not just the themes. So we've got all these different deep, dark themes, right? Grief, loss, trauma, suffering, separation. But at the end of the game, there are new themes. Themes of hope, themes of redemption, and most important of all, I think, theme of forgiveness. Forgiveness of the self in this case, in the case of the video game. So this game, A Space for the Unbound, right? I beat it. I'm pretty sure I even got platinum trophy for it. So I played the whole thing, and at the very end of the game, I was so moved. Like, the last sequence of the game, I was hit so hard, I was so moved that, like, I couldn't stop crying. Like, I'll just say right now, I'm talking Niagara Falls levels of tears coming down my eyes, and even right now, just thinking about it, I'm getting a little choked up, because it was just so beautiful. Like, you mix all these themes of guilt, loss, separation, right, and grief, and then you pair them with, like, hope, forgiveness, and redemption, and it's a different cocktail mix. It's suffering and hope and love mixed together, and the feeling was exquisite, I gotta say. Like, it was painful at the same time, but it was also very loving, and the two mixed together. Like, I'm talking Niagara Falls down my cheeks here, right? During the last maybe 15-20 minutes of the game, it was just so beautiful. I was hit so hard, I was so moved. And yet I didn't have to suffer. It felt like when the tears were coming, it felt like I released, like, maybe a year, maybe even a decade's worth of pain, just let it all gone, just cried it all out, and just this end segments of this one video game. It felt pretty good, and I never had to go through all the deep themes of guilt, trauma, loss, love, separation, grief. Not that kind of mix. Not in a very difficult way, and yet I was still able to get the release, the catharsis out of it with a Niagara Falls worth of tears. And I think it saved me a lot of suffering, to be honest with you, that I didn't have to go through it myself and still be able to understand on a heart level, on a feeling level, how the protagonist felt at the end of the game. And I thought it was quite miraculous. And because of that, A Space for the Unbound is like, one of my best video games that I've ever played, and I recommend it so much to everybody. So that's the very first example. I'm going to give one more example. So this second example was even harder to talk about because it's a movie. This time it's a movie. So the movie this time in question is Brokeback Mountain. So back in the 2000s, I believe it came out in 2000s, Brokeback Mountain was a very big deal. A movie that was really going around. And you probably heard of it. It's the gay cowboy movie, right? So back in the 2000s, homosexuality is, I guess it's more suppressed than it is today, right? And being a straight guy, I honestly would never be able to understand or feel directly some of the trauma and suffering that homosexual people have to live with back then or even today. Like, I would simply never feel it by way of who I am. And yet, Brokeback Mountain, this movie, seriously opened my eyes. And at first, I was a little iffy about watching it. A straight guy watching a movie about a couple of gay cowboys, like, why? But a friend of mine a coworker of mine actually got his hands on a DVD, and he lent it to me, and I watched it from the comfort of my home, and I was able to feel what I have to feel. So no, I'm not coming out. I'm still 100% straight, which is kind of my point. So this movie, at the end of the movie, it taught me a valuable lesson, very, very valuable one. And that lesson is love is love. Whether it's a man-woman relationship, a man-man relationship, woman-woman relationship, child-parent relationship. I mean, love is love. At Brokeback Mountain, I mean, just because it's a couple of gay cowboys, their love for each other felt it's like the same. It's the same love that I would feel for, say, my wife or my friends or between me and anybody, really. And that movie really opened my eyes. There's no Niagara Falls this time. It didn't hit me on that level. But it was a level up in the sense that, wow, I see it. I see why there could be, homosexual people because, love is love. There's really no separation here. There's no different kinds of love. It's the same bloody thing. It's the same love between anything and everybody. If your love is true, if it's true love, it's the same love. And that's the one thing I got out of Brokeback Mountain. I still think it's one of the best movies ever made and that I've ever watched. And Jake Gyllenhaal is still one of my all-time favorite actors. Yeah. And, I'm straight. I will never know the suffering that homosexuals feel, whether they are repressed by staying in the closet, or maybe they're discriminated against by not staying in the closet. Like, that's something I would never feel. And yet, by watching this movie, I still got something out of it. And I think that's kind of what I mean with those two examples, Brokeback Mountain and A Space for the Unbound. I think, for me, I've learned a lesson that you don't really have to go through trauma yourself to experience the results of that trauma. You just kind of have to keep your mind open, your heart open, and you just gotta watch it without judgment, feel what you have to feel, and you can easily take something away, something that may take somebody else decades to learn, to overcome, to cry over, to understand. And all it takes is a space of playing a video game or a movie that's a couple hours long, and you get some of the benefits. Maybe you even get all of the benefits of someone who's had deep trauma and had to go through it themselves step by step. And I think that's the real miracle here, the real miracle of the time that we live in, because it's not just those two pieces of media, those two pieces of art. These pieces of art, these media, they're everywhere. And chances are, if you're seeking something, chances are one of these pieces of media might find you, and you just have to be open about it and absorb whatever it is they have to show you, and just go, eureka, you understand something. And I honestly think it's a great feeling. And I think if we use the tools that we have right, we can probably drastically cut down on the amount of suffering we have. I mean, why go through all the craziness ourselves and think that there's no one out there to understand us when there's clearly people who've been through this exact same experience that you or I might be having, and we could just learn some wisdom from the folks who came before, Expedition 33, right? For those who come after, the people who come before give to those who come after. It's kind of like that. It's great. Expedition 33 is also a wonderful game, by the way. Not exactly a spiritual awakening kind of game for me anyway, but maybe it could be for someone else. You never know. So that's all I have to share with you today. If you like the message, if it resonates with you, please drop a like, hit the subscribe button, and maybe even leave a comment. And that's it. Thank you for watching this. I am Randy Koo, and you have been watching the Spiritual Transformer channel, and I will see you again next time. Bye for now.